Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here, the Executive Director of the American Constitutional Rights Union. You can follow us at theacru.org. On this episode of Live Free TV, thank you for joining us. A lot of people have maybe put COVID and everything on the back burner of their mind, but there's still some very lingering issues out there that we need to make sure are resolved. Because when it comes to our medical freedom, we should never allow that to be ceded over to government authorities who don't have sometimes our best interests at heart. And with that being said, we are joined today with Lee and Chrissy Hicks. They are both Army veterans, U.S. Army, go Army. Lee served 28 years and Chrissy served 4 years. They have been married for 23 years and have 11 children, God bless them, 3 of whom were adopted from Ukraine. They fought to get Yulia an unvaccinated kidney transplant. They were successful as she was transplanted on 25 May of this year at East Carolina University Hospital. They are now fighting to get Yulia's law passed in the state of North Carolina and other states to stop the medical tyranny of the mandatory COVID vaccination for organ transplants. And now we have Lee and Chrissy Hicks. Thanks so much, you guys, for joining us. And airborne.
Thank you,
Airborne.
Airborne all the way.
That's it. No, so give us a background of Yulia and her medical condition and what happened with Duke University and their refusal to do the organ transplant for Yulia.
So Yulia was originally adopted from a family in Raleigh, and then through the grapevine, things happened. She ended up with our family. So we always knew that she had this genetic disorder called Steiner-Lukens syndrome. We took her to Duke immediately. We were seen by Duke for almost 2 years.
Yep.
She was on dialysis for 18 months. It was November of last year where Duke finally denied us. They said if we didn't give her the COVID vaccination, that she would not be getting a transplant at Duke. That's when we took it to the national level. We were very lucky to be able to get on different sites and get her story out there. And a generous man came forward from Kentucky. We don't know his name. We just know his initials are JJ. And he donated his kidney to Yulia. And East Carolina University contacted us and said that they would do the transplant there. And it was nothing short of a miracle. Yulia was out of the hospital in 3 days. She's never had any complications. Absolutely nothing. It's been a miracle.
How old is Yulia?
She's 15.
Now, was the clock ticking as far as her getting this transplant? I mean, time sensitive?
Absolutely. Because her kidneys were, when we got her, they were at 16% and going down, functioning. So she actually ended up, her kidneys never did really produce anything at all there towards the end. So we're not functioning at all. So we're solely reliant on dialysis to help her through.
And her dialysis was getting to the point where we had to do it 9 hours at night, and then we had to do another 1 hour around dinner time. So we progressed, her kidneys were getting worse and worse, and her creatinine and her bun levels were going up. So it was becoming time sensitive for sure.
Absolutely.
I am reminded of this phrase, and I'll first say it in Latin: primum non nocere, which is the Hippocratic Oath, which means first do no harm. Now, to me, I'm trying to understand why Duke University, their medical center, would take this position when you have someone that is in this dire need, time-sensitive case, and they want to play politics with something that we clearly now know that the COVID vaccine was not a vaccine. It was not effective. The efficacy, there are many, cases of falsifying the information about that. So how did Duke explain this to you, that they were going to do harm to your daughter over this silly policy?
Actually, Alan, they didn't. At first, we thought, we've been up front with them, because they started pressuring us when it was approved by the CDC to vaccinate children. They started pressuring us on it, and we said no. We had concerns about this vaccine, and that we were not, willing to risk it with her. And then they kept. When we had a long day of workup with the Duke, we had the infectious disease doctor, Dr. Chang, tell us that other families had received, other patients had received a kidney without the vaccine there at Duke. So we had hope that we were not going to be forced into a decision like this where they were going to require the vaccine. And it was Dr. Chambers, the director, that finally told us, no, cannot have a kidney unless you get the vaccine. So it was kind of frustrating and a big letdown. And they never did really explain it, other than because I told him, I said, or I asked him that when you're going to reduce her immunity with medication, so it doesn't attack the organ, and they said yes. And I said, well, how's the vaccine going to help her then, if that's the case? And they said, well, it would. Then they came back and tried to make an excuse for it, saying it would actually help her immune system if we get her a vaccine. I'm like, but
it was all just lies.
Yes,
it was just
absolutely.
semantics. They gave multiple transplants at Duke without the vaccine. We don't know why we were targeted, but for some reason we were.
And even after they denied us initially, they did do a transplant without requiring the vaccine on this other patient.
Yeah. He reached out to us and told us, I don't know why you're not getting yours. I got mine. And we kept talking to Duke. And then we finally just said it's time to move on. And East Carolina was amazing. We can sing their praises all day long. I hope that their transplant program takes off, because it was unbelievable, the difference. They treated us like we were part of the team. I was called out for rounds every day when they rounded on Yulia, asked my concerns. And it was not like that at Duke. At Duke, it was literally like, you do what we say or you're not getting medical care.
Yeah, they were very draconian about it.
Well, the fact that for certain that they had done transplants on people there at Duke that were not vaccinated, you have the basis for a lawsuit. Am I correct?
We do. We did have a lawsuit in, and our lawyer, Mike Yoder, pulled it because it wasn't presented the correct way. And we are he's doing a lot of research right now. There's some other cases out there that could help us if we see how they are litigated first. And then he will be refiling a case with Duke. And that's why we're still raising money, because we know our legal fight isn't over yet. And mostly, Alan, I want to kind of tie into this Yulia's law, because while it's nice to win some monetary compensation for what happened to us at Duke, ultimately, we want to save other lives. We want to help other people. And this Yulia's law needs to be expanded, actually, from what was originally written. And right now it says that it can't deny a patient because based on their COVID vaccination status. But really, we also need to know from the donor if they are vaccinated, because right now the National Kidney Registry will not tell you when you get called up for a deceased kidney, they will not give you the vaccination status. And we actually have a friend that went through it. Her son, we assume, got a vaccinated kidney because the kidney was clotting while her son was bleeding out. So we can only assume that it was vaccinated, but they won't. And even I think it's not even tracked right now. Like, they don't even want to track if the kidney is vaccinated or the organs are vaccinated or not. And that's something that we need to know. Like, we need to have,
Right, because there are other statuses with kidney or with any organ that's going to be transplanted. There are other things that they tell you right up front, and whether or not it's had a vaccine.
Like, they'll tell you if it has HIV. They'll tell you if it's any of the hepatitis. They'll tell you if they were drug users. They'll tell you if they're alcoholics, but they will not tell you if they got the COVID vaccination.
Well, that's one of the things that I think we have to rectify, this cloak of secrecy that continues to permeate out there, because I don't think that the pharmaceutical industry wants us to know the truth about this. I know that there are some concerns about Pfizer and a couple of others, Moderna, as far as what they produce. And again, the efficacy ratings of it and some manipulation of data. So now we're at the point, we got Yulia's law put together, and you have presented that there in the North Carolina legislature. It has passed the state house, if I'm correct.
Overwhelmingly, yeah. I think it was like 92-24. It was overwhelmingly passed in the House.
No, what 24 idiots didn't vote for it? I mean, to me, this is...
I hate to say that.
No, I tried to set you up so you could say that. but because, again, this is about medical freedom versus medical tyranny. And it's a very clear line that you can side with. So obviously 24 people there in the state of North Carolina sided with medical tyranny and sided with what happened with you at Duke University. Now it goes to the North Carolina State Senate. What's the status with the North Carolina State Senate? And how can the viewers of this Live Free TV podcast help you?
So we're not really sure when it's going to come to vote again. They told us when they come back in session this fall, it should be brought to vote. So I would say if everybody could just inundate their lines, call every North Carolina senator that you can and tell them we want this law passed. because to us, the biggest win would be for Duke and Wake Forest and Chapel Hill all to be forced to give transplants to these patients. There's so many people waiting, Alan. It's ridiculous. We get calls all the time of people trying to find a hospital that will take their loved one or themselves without being vaccinated. And so that would just be justice if we could force these hospitals to give transplants and not be able to pick and choose who can get it without a vaccine and who can't.
Well, it's like you said earlier, it's go back to do no harm. That's the whole point of being in the medical field to begin with. And if you're going to pick and choose who's living, who's dying, you're doing harm.
You're absolutely doing harm, but it seems to be the way people from the inception of life all the way through that they want to be the ones to pick and choose instead of, like you say, doing no harm. Has Governor Cooper there in North Carolina, has he made any initial statement about supporting or not supporting Yulia's law?
Oh, I'm sure he will not be in support of it. So that will be the next fight, even if it passes. I would assume, and I'm just assuming, that he would veto it. We're really hoping. We love Mark Robinson, our lieutenant governor.
Yes, I know him well.
He's running for governor this year and the next cycle, and I really hope he wins because he is a champion for life.
Absolutely.
Well, I want people to understand this, okay? In the state of North Carolina, you have the state house and the state senate is Republican. And one of the great juxtapositions that we just recently saw in North Carolina was that educational freedom, school choice got passed, and Governor Roy Cooper there of North Carolina, a Democrat, decided to initiate a state of emergency. Because all of a sudden we're going to, give parents the right to be able to choose where their children are educated. I would think that it would be absolutely appalling if the governor of the state of North Carolina would stand on the side of medical tyranny instead of medical freedom. So again, to all of the viewers out there, I want you guys to burn down the phones of the governor's office in North Carolina and tell him to publicly make a statement. Either he supports it or he doesn't support it, but to publicly make a statement about Yulia's law, because what you all have started in North Carolina needs to be in every single state in the United States of America. And I don't know how many states have adopted what you're doing, and maybe you can update us on that.
So we don't know for sure. We're actually working with Lori Raymond. I know you're good friends with her too.
Yes.
And she said that
she's my boss.
I know. She knows which legislatures would be more friendly for it. So we're going to work on that in the fall too. We're actually, as a family, we just had the transplant and then our oldest daughter just got married. So I'm still trying to come up from that was last week. So
congratulations.
Here.
11 children and never a crisis not to handle it at some point in time.
Yeah. Well, I think that this really does become a preeminent issue next year going into the 2024 election cycle, because we have got to get back focused on individual freedom, individual economic freedom, individual freedom from all the crime and lawlessness that's out there, individual energy freedom and independence, educational freedom, and medical freedom. These things are so critical because these are kitchen table type of issues that families are talking about. So I applaud you all for what you're doing. And yes, the ACRU, the American Constitutional Rights Union, is signing on, and we're supporting you, and we're filing amicus briefs all over wherever we are trying to get this Yulia's law passed. But right now, the tip of the spear, we've got to get it through in North Carolina. What are some of the other things that people can do to support you and create even more awareness of what you're doing?
I mean, especially if they're in other states, Alan, call their legislatures and let them know that North Carolina is trying to get this law passed. But, they can usurp us. If they pass it first in Michigan or they pass it first in South Dakota, we would be happy. We just need this to get traction, like you said, because it is about medical tyranny. And if we don't stand up now, soon we won't be able to stand up. They are going to keep coming at everything. Who knows what's next? The other issue is blood donation. Again, they're not letting us know if the blood that you're getting is vaccinated or not. We were lucky enough that we banked blood from friends for Yulia just in case she would need it. Thank God that she didn't need it, but it was another concern that we had. It's hard when you're going through, you have a child with chronic illness. It's already so much stress. And then the very people that are supposed to be helping you are the ones that are fighting you, and that you're having to double check and make sure they're not trying to hurt you more rather than help you. It's appalling that this is happening in America.
It is. And your thoughts and concerns about this issue. Imagine if we cede over our medical sovereignty to the United Nations World Health Organization. Uh, how do you think that would affect your situation right now?
Oh, it will make things worse, Alan. I mean, who
Yeah.
knows what the next thing is they have out there waiting to inject us all with? And if we cede our sovereignty to the Health Organization, I mean, I don't know. People have read, I mean, their goal is depopulation, and I'm sure that that would just accelerate it.
Yeah, and this is not conspiracy theory. These are things that are out there in black and white in print, and
Mm.
it's happening to good people like what Duke University did to you all. Okay, once again, tell us the website that people can go to. Give us a couple of action items that you would love to see people do. We've already talked about a couple. Anything else you'd like to see people do to support you?
Okay, so it's givesendgo.com/kidney for Yulia. Most of that money now will be used for our litigation with Duke or to help pay off a couple more medical bills from Yulia's transplant. The other thing is call North Carolina senators. Please call them. Ask them to pass this bill. Call Senator Cooper or Governor Cooper's office. Ask him, like you said, ask him what his statement is. Is he going to support this bill or is he going to be against it and be for medical tyranny? And then if you live in other states, call your legislatures. See if you can get somebody to get this bill also into those states. That would be the biggest thing. And as always, just keep praying for all the transplant patients out there that are still looking for a place to get transplanted without this terrible vaccine.
And let me just close with this thought. Between the two of you, you gave 32 years of service in uniform to our great country to support and defend its Constitution. I think it is absolutely heinous. I think it is disgusting. I think it is despicable that whoever the person was at Duke University Medical Center slapped you all in the face and basically slapped you for the service that you have given to this country and took away the decision of protecting Yulia's life and put it into his own hands. And that's really what we're fighting against here in the United States of America. Men and women who are standing up on freedom's ramparts and they're being told they don't even have the medical freedom to protect their children. We got to get this fixed. And I want to thank you, Lee and Chrissy Hicks, for continuing to be on the tip of the spear. And we're going to get Yulia's law passed in North Carolina and every single state across the United States of America. And if need be, we'll make sure that it is passed up there in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Sounds
Thank
great.
All right. God bless you all the way. And thank you for joining us here on Live Free TV.
Thank
you,
you.
Alan. Thank you very
All
much.
right. Hooah.